They had conquered the stars, or so they believed. The Xal'Vora Dominion, a species engineered for war, had carved their empire across 24 spiral arms. Their fleets blackened the skies of hundreds of worlds. Their armies ground opposition into dust. Their scientists had erased the word fear from their genome long before they ever left their cradle world. For the Xal'Vora, emotion was a weapon. Anger made them ruthless. Pride made them relentless. But fear was a weakness. It slowed the reflexes, clouded judgment. So they stripped it away, genetically excising the ancient instinct from their kind like a surgeon removing cancer. They had never known it since. They believed nothing in the universe could make them afraid. And for millennia, that belief held true. They swept aside the insectoid drawl without mercy. They burned the crystalline societies of the Vakari into ash. The Ten, the Silith, the proud Ekril. Each civilization had stood in defiance, and each had crumbled before the Dominion's might. Planet after planet, fleet after fleet, the galaxy became theirs. They encountered strange species, intelligent life forms with biologies as bizarre as their cultures. But they all broke eventually. Resistance was expected, inevitable. But in the end, they all bowed or bled. And then they met humans. It began, as such things often do, with a border skirmish. The Dominion scouts discovered a world rich in resources, orbiting a yellow star near the galactic fringe. It was called Earth by its inhabitants, a planet classified as a high-threat biosphere, a death world. The Dominion paid little mind to the designation. They had conquered harsher worlds. The report spoke of a bipedal species, adaptable, technologically advancing, but fractured. Primitive, still mired in planetary politics. Not yet unified, not yet dangerous. They would learn their place. The Dominion's fleet arrived in orbit, expecting a swift, brutal subjugation. Instead, they encountered silence. No grand defense, no planetary shields, no orbital fleets. Only silence. Dominion ground forces landed near what their intelligence suggested was a military installation, a place called Fort Bragg. Within hours, the Xal'Vora soldiers reported disturbing anomalies. Structures abandoned, entire cities emptied, and yet eyes. Hidden in the forest, shadows in the buildings. They were watched. Snipers picked off patrols without warning. Mines appeared along supply lines. Automated drones disrupted communications. The first reports called them unconventional tactics. The second reports called them asymmetric warfare. The third report never came. Entire battalions vanished. Their transports found burned-out wrecks. Their personnel missing or slaughtered. The Dominion escalated. More troops landed. Orbital bombardments were ordered. Yet the humans did not engage conventionally. They bled the invaders with surgical precision, retreating into the wilderness, striking from shadows, melting away before reinforcements arrived. They hacked Dominion systems, turned their own drones against them, and, most disturbingly, they captured live Xal'Vora. No species had ever done that. Enemies either died or surrendered. These humans, they studied them. They learned their tactics, their language, their biology, and then they adapted. Dominion Command dismissed it as an annoyance at first, but then their forward bases fell. Entire regiments vanished overnight. Their air support found themselves hunted by stealth aircraft they couldn't detect. Their ground vehicles sabotaged. Their walkers lured into traps designed with intimate knowledge of their weaknesses. It wasn't until the first Xal'Vora fleet was ambushed in orbit that Dominion High Command understood. This was not a fractured, primitive species caught off guard. This was a predator. They declared full-scale war. 1,000 ships descended on Earth. Entire continents were designated targets for orbital cleansing. But Earth was ready. Human warships emerged from hidden bases across the solar system, small, ugly compared to the sleek lines of Dominion vessels, but bristling with weapons far exceeding what their technological level suggested. Kinetic railguns, directed energy weapons, stealth systems that rivaled even Dominion cloaking fields. But more than that, they fought with something the Xal'Vora had never truly encountered before. Ruthlessness. The humans targeted supply lines. They lured Dominion ships into asteroid fields and detonated hidden explosives with surgical timing. They crashed their own vessels into larger Dominion cruisers in suicide runs that defied logic. Their soldiers, when cornered, detonated themselves rather than surrender. And when captured, they spat blood into their captors' faces and laughed. Fear. For the first time in their engineered history, the Xal'Vora felt the first faint ripples of it. They denied it at first, called it a tactical anomaly, an unexpected resistance factor. But their soldiers whispered the forest of unseen eyes, of predators that walked like prey. Their officers reported entire units breaking formation, disobeying orders in panic. The geneticists scanned the population, horrified to find neural patterns reactivating ancient, buried pathways. Fear wasn't gone. It had merely been sleeping. And now, faced with humanity, it awoke. The war should have been over quickly. The Dominion had greater numbers, more advanced fleets, centuries of experience. But humanity was unlike any species they had ever faced. Their military wasn't organized along predictable lines. Their ships operated independently, striking deep behind Dominion lines, sabotaging, assassinating, dismantling logistics. Worse, humanity wasn't alone. Their broadcasts, beamed into the void for centuries, had sown seeds across the stars. Refugees, outcasts, the broken remnants of species of Dominion had crushed now flocked to the human cause. They didn't see weakness in these hairless primates. They saw revenge. The Vakari, their crystalline minds capable of controlling human-built weapon systems. The 10, their insectoid forms perfect for infiltration and sabotage. The Silith engineers, their knowledge of Dominion tech invaluable. Humanity didn't just fight, they united. In doing so, they did what no other species had accomplished. They made the Dominion bleed. World after world, the tide shifted. The Dominion sent assassins to Earth's leadership. The humans sent them back in pieces, with data files detailing the locations of hidden Dominion bases. The Dominion deployed biological weapons. Humanity reverse-engineered them within weeks, turning them into vaccines, and worse, into plagues tailored to the Dominion genome. The final, undeniable crack in the Dominion's arrogance came at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. The Dominion amassed the largest fleet ever seen. Over 10,000 warships, planetary siege engines, orbital annihilation platforms. It was meant to be overwhelming, a display of unstoppable force. The humans didn't meet them in open battle. Instead, the stars themselves turned against the Dominion. Stealth platforms, hidden in deep space for years, detonated black hole mines, artificial singularities that tore the fabric of space, swallowing ships whole. Solar flares, artificially induced, fried sensor arrays, and crippled communications. When the Dominion fleet scrambled to respond, human ships, masked by stealth fields, emerged from the darkness. They didn't aim for military targets alone. They targeted the command ships, the officers, the logistics vessels. They decapitated the fleet's leadership within the first hour. Chaos reigned. The Xal'Vora, bred for war, found themselves blind, leaderless, and afraid. Their formations collapsed. Their automated systems failed under coordinated cyber attacks. And into that chaos, humanity descended like wolves upon wounded prey. The battle wasn't won through superior firepower alone. It was won through psychology, through fear. In the aftermath, Dominion High Command convened in secrecy. They analyzed every report, every battle, every whispered fear creeping through their ranks. And they reached a singular, terrifying conclusion. The humans were not the apex of their evolution. They were the apex of their suffering. Their world had forged them in hardship, gravity that crushed bones, storms that razed cities, predators that stalked them even as they developed civilization. And worse than all that, they had turned their own nature into their greatest weapon. They embraced fear. They studied it, understood it, harnessed it. Where the Xal'Vora excised fear like a disease, the humans refined it into something else entirely. Courage, determination, madness. For every human killed, 10 more rose in their place, driven not by blind obedience, but by something far more dangerous, choice. They chose to fight. They chose to bleed. They chose to sacrifice. And now, for the first time, the Xal'Vora Dominion chose something else. They chose to retreat. But it was too late. The humans were no longer merely defending Earth. Their fleets expanded beyond their system. Their allies, former slaves and refugees, fought alongside them. The Dominion's empire fractured at the edges, rebellions flaring like wildfires. World after world slipped from their grasp, and the humans never forgot. They didn't forget the conquered species. They didn't forget the glass cities. They didn't forget the arrogance. And they never forgot fear. The humans came, not as conquerors, but as something far worse, as a lesson, as a reminder to the galaxy that no empire, no matter how mighty, could erase fear, that the apex predator wasn't the one without fear. It was the one that understood it and made others feel it. The war wasn't over. Not yet. But for the Xal'Vora, the outcome was no longer in question. Nothing in the universe had ever made them afraid, until they met humans. And the war had only just begun.